Hi, I'm Brent. Welcome to my channel. One of the things that attracts me to blacksmith work as a hobby is we get to repurpose things. We get to use things that would normally be considered scrap in our projects, and that's the case today. I have some 1/2-inch square copper bus bar out of an electrical panel. I'm going to take a 4-inch portion of that bar and I'm going to attempt to make a ladle similar to this one. Let's get going on this project. Our first order of business for our piece of copper is we're going to try to upset it to eventually work it down into a disc shape similar to these right here. It's going to take a good many heats. The key to doing this, I find, is to get it to a low red heat. You don't want to get it really hot to do this. It seems to create wrinkles on the side of it if you get it too terribly hot. I have also tried working it cold. Definitely not a possibility. Heat number 1. We don't want to hit it too hard. We're just going to drive it down slowly. I find a low red heat works best for me. When you're working it, you want to try to hold it lightly with your tongs, because this is copper after all, and it is hot, and your tongs will leave marks in it. Heat number 2. Slowly working it down. Heat number 3. Heat 4. Heat 5. I'm still happy with our progress. Heat 6. Remember to hold it lightly. Now as we work this into a cube shape, keep track of what was each end. You want that to be the top and the bottom as you work it down. Reason for that is, if you got some wrinkles on that side as you were working it down, they'll be on the outside perimeter and not in the middle of your ladle. Heat number 7. Holding it lightly. You see I've moved to a little bit more aggressive hammer. As you start getting this closer to being a flat object, you can be a little more aggressive with it. It has taken us 8 heats to get this is where it's a workable piece of copper for us. So we're going to stop counting heats at this point and continue to work this down. Once you get it down to where it's a 1/4 inch or less in thickness, now we're going to start working this round. So we're going to bring it to the swedge block and round it out a little bit. There it is. After our first time of rounding it out a little bit, I just measured, it's at 5/16 thickness right now. Trying to be careful here not to hit my tongue. Looking very nice.
Always be careful not to hold it too hard, because your tongs will make condensations in it as we're working it down.
And after every couple of heats, we're going to bring it back to our swedge block and work it round again. After round 2 at our swedge block, we're at about 3/16 thickness and 3-inch diameter. I'd like to get this to about a 4.5-inch OD. All right, I've switched tongs again. Now I'm going to work about a half of it at a time and turn it 180 degrees. We're still working it hot at this point. Okay, let's go for the other 180. This time I've brought you along for the ride to the swedge block. Just get a good support on the bottom side and work your way around the perimeter, knocking any portions that stick out down. And as evidenced by the fact that I'm holding this by hand, I cooled it before I'm doing this. Copper works great cold, we all know that. Back at the anvil for a little more fun. We're currently at a little over an 1/8 inch thick, and we're 3 3/4. At this point, we are no longer going back to the swedge block to work the perimeter. We really don't have enough edge thickness any longer to do that. So we continue to just work it out. We're about where we need to be at this point. It's almost 4.5 inches. So now we're going to start giving it some shape. And just for those that are curious, with me doing several different takes on the intro, we're still less than 40 minutes in on this. This is one of the last things we're going to do hot. We're going to work our sheet copper down into this swedge with a 2 5/16 gooseneck ball. Then after that, we're going to start working this thing cold. Now we're working our copper cold. For those of you that don't know that, copper is very workable cold. It will work hardened though, so as you work it, occasionally you need to go put it back in the fire, get it to a low red heat, and put it in some water, and it anneals it. You will be able to feel it getting harder as you work it and know it's time to go back in the fire. But let's get going. What I've done is I've chosen a swedge on my swedge block that is far smaller than the ladle we want to end up with. And I'm going to be working the bottoms and the sides to get it like we want it. Any of those wrinkles that you got around the perimeter when we knocked it down in the first larger swedge, just work them out. All it takes is a little patience. Once it gets this thin, it heats up very quickly, so don't put it in the fire and go for tea. You'll have molten copper when you return. Ask me how I know. She's coming along nicely. At this point, I don't know if I'm raising a vessel or sinking a bowl. Those of you that are coppersmiths, chime in. Honestly, these ladles are the first things I've ever done in copper, other than machine work, that is. Now we're working on a little bit lighter hammer here. Now as I'm doing this on these cast iron swedge blocks, I'm putting a lot of undesirable marks on the back side of this. That's of no consequence for me. This would be far better if we were doing this on a wooden block at this point, maybe even with a plastic hammer. But for the direction we're heading, because we want texture on it, we're not going to sweat it. I'm pretty happy with this. Now we're fixing to start working it from the other side. I'm sorry to keep moving y'all around so much. Now we're back at the anvil and we're working on a 3 1/4 inch OD ball that I actually repurposed out of a 2-inch ball valve. So now we're going to put our copper ladle on there and we're going to start texturing the outside of it. Get some of these ugly marks off the outside of it and try to put a nice texture on it. Doing this cold, of course. I like working it from the center out. You will have to have good light for this, so you can see the shiny spots that you have already hit. I just keep working from the center, and I'm going to go all the way to the outside perimeter. Of course, this is thinning our ladle some more, actually making it a little bit bigger, making it beautiful. This is after one round of working the external surface. You can take your thumb and forefinger and feel on both sides and find your thick areas and work those down some more if you need to. I think we're going to go through one more round of that, and I think that'll be nice enough. This is round 2 of working it on our ball swedge. This time as we work it, we're going to hope that it work hardens just a little bit, and we're going to leave it in that state so our copper ladle will be a little tougher. Once again, working from the center out. As we get closer, I'm going to work it on my 2 5/16 ball some to try to get some curvature back into the upper area and maybe shrink the lip a little bit. All right, y'all, with just a little work, a little over 4 inches of 1/2 inch square copper, we now have a 3 3/4 inch diameter ladle with a depth of a little over 2. I'm happy with that. All right, die-hard traditional blacksmiths, close your eyes and ears at this point. Even though we have been very careful at trying to maintain our edges and keeping a circular pattern on our ladle, they still got a little ragged on the edges. So at this point, I'm going to fire up the belt grinder, and we're just going to smooth these edges out and make a nice uniform edge. I have done these with a file. It is quite cumbersome. Very nice. Now I'll just file the ID just a little bit. Also, it's exposed the fact that we have a little bit of a crooked portion in our scoop or ladle, so I'm going to hammer that out as well, and the lower portion will be done. And sticking with today's theme of making something from nothing, I'm going to use a drop from a previous project. I know it's carbon steel of some sort. It's 3/8 thick, 3/4 of an inch wide, and 5.5 inches long. Let's get this hot. Bringing it down square with our fullering dies. At this point, I've worked it down to about 7/16 square. I'm going to leave 3/4 of an inch on the end. That's the portion we're going to flatten out to connect to our copper ladle. This remaining portion that I have not worked at all is going to be our handle. Everything between that, I'm going to work it down to about 5/16 to 1/4 inch square, somewhere up in there. Looking nice. As mentioned, we're down around a little below 5/16. I think we're going to leave that center section alone. Now we're going to take this bottom portion that we left alone, and we're going to fuller it out and give it some width to put 2 rivets in it. First, we're going to hit it in the center with the fullering dies. Then we're just going to slowly spread it out. Get it down to a little less than an 1/8 inch thickness. And try to keep it somewhat symmetrical. I like that. We've left ourselves a little less than 2 inches of 3/8 by 3/4 on the end. Let's see if we can make a handle out of that. Can you see the slight marks left by the fullering? I think I'm going to leave those in there. Now we see if we can give this handle a little bit of curvature, and I think it's going to be okay. All right, we're going to center punch 2 locations for rivets on the end of our handle. We're just going to eyeball this. Whoops, I got it. We center punched 2 locations for rivets on the handle for our ladle, and we're going to go ahead and drill those out to 3/16. Two holes for rivets. Now we've transferred just one of our marks from our handle onto our copper ladle, and we're going to drill that point. Careful here doing this. Once you've drilled one hole in your ladle in the copper portion, and you already have your 2 holes in your handle, get your ladle somewhat straight. We're going to go ahead and set that one rivet. Now once you have that one rivet set, you mark your other hole in your copper portion of your ladle and you drill it. Well, here she is, y'all. We got her all riveted up. I am very pleased with it. I went ahead off camera and I put a little curve to our handle that we made. I really like the fullering marks that we left on the handle. I really like the hammer marks that we left on the ladle end. You can also see those hammer marks on the inside. With it polished out like this, it is a beautiful finish. I enjoyed making this. I hope you get out in the shop and make one for yourself. And please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching.